Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
I'm Victoria Cash. Thanks for calling the Lucky Land Hotline. If you feel like you do the same thing every day, press 1. If you're ready to have some serious fun for the chance to redeem some serious prizes, press 2. We heard you loud and clear. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com right now and play over 100 social casino-style games for free. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
In the spirit of reconciliation, the Theatre Thoughts podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all traditional custodians of the land on which our episodes are recorded.
Look, I think the most challenging experience I had was probably the opening night that almost never happened. About a year ago, we were getting ready to open The Wizard of Oz at the National Theatre in St Kilda here in Melbourne, and I've got a routine, and I sort of walk through the theatre from beginning to end on opening night just to check everything. Maybe it's a compulsion, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's good producing. I don't know.
Yeah. You're listening to the Theatre Thoughts podcast, where we dive deep into the world of theatre and celebrate the magic of the stage. I'm your host, Justin Clarke, and I'm here to guide you through insightful conversations, behind-the-scenes stories, and thought-provoking discussions about everything theatre-related. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind you to connect with us on social media. You can follow us on Instagram at TheatreThoughtsAUS and TTPod_official for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and exclusive interviews. You can also find us on TikTok at Theatre Thoughts Australia for even more theatre goodness. And if you'd like to support the podcast and gain access to exclusive content, consider subscribing to our Patreon. So whether you're a seasoned theatregoer or just starting your journey, please sit back, relax, and enjoy this brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. I have a very special guest on today who I'm very, very excited to talk about musical theatre because I feel like they love musical theatre as much as I love musical theatre. So this will be a great chat. We have a presenter who started on radio in 1992, working as both a producer and presenter with a passion and dedication for theatre, particularly in Naarm, Melbourne. And they have a special fondness for musical theatre. He believes that theatre is a magical realm where storytelling transcends spoken words. It's Andrew G. Welcome to the podcast.
Justin, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I've actually followed you for a while now since getting into like the whole Theatre Thoughts aspect of everything, and your work as a producer is great. It's outstanding. You have so many great shows on.
Oh, thank you so much. Look, it's just such an amazing thing to be allowed to do, and when I say be allowed to do, have performers, have crew, have technical people, coming along for the ride and supporting the vision and of course the audiences that buy the tickets to fund these dreams and to make what we really want to do possible. It's just an amazing thing to be able to be a part of.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And I love that your setup is very similar to my background.
Do you know what? I noticed that.
It's the first thing.
And I promise our people didn't talk. This wasn't planned ahead of time.
No, not at all. Not at all. Oh, good. I love it. If I had like my own house, I would have like a whole room of playbills if I could. Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's talk about yourself then before we jump into our questions, I suppose. So for people who don't know you, I know I did like a little bit of a rundown, but who is Andrew G?
Yeah, I as a kid, I loved the idea of being a DJ, and I was always mucking around with back then, I just turned 50, so it was a little while ago. Back then, it was records and CDs, and I used to play in my bedroom and talk into a microphone, and then first time I had the opportunity, I started talking on the radio, and that would have been, I reckon, in 1990. 91 at Triple R community radio station, big community radio station here in Melbourne, and just fell in love with it. And I fell in love with, being able to communicate and being able to present music and stories. Back then, this is 1990, so pre-internet as we know it now, pre-Spotify, pre-YouTube, pre-all that sort of stuff. The only place you could go to hear different points of view or to hear different music or books or whatever it is you're into was radio stations like Triple R. And there were radio stations just like them, all over Australia. And I loved that. And I also, once I got into it, I loved what community radio was all about. It was about people coming together, presenters, producers, music people, writers, technical people, all coming together in order to make this thing that's bigger than the sum of all of its parts. And, fast forward many, many years, producing theatre is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in that, you've got your singers and your dancers and your actors on stage, but you've also got your people that build your sets and make the costumes and do the scenic painting, and the designers and the technicians and the ushers and the front of house staff that greet our audiences as they're coming into the theatre for the first time. The marketing people, the dressmakers. There are just so many people that come together to bring this story to life on stage. What I keep telling people that I love about theatre over radio is it doesn't have a use by date.
Yeah.
These days we've got podcasts just like this one, Justin. You don't really need to be sitting in a radio station. I mean, we're both sitting in our homes in different parts of Australia having a chat. Whereas radio, people, I don't know. I don't think as many people are listening to mainstream radio as they used to, because people listen to what they want when they want to, or read what they want when they want to. Whereas live theatre's live theatre, and I've always found the best recent-ish example of that is during all of the COVID lockdowns, when every single theatre on the planet was shut down. Disney Plus very cleverly streamed Hamilton.
Yes, I remember.
And then later
that.
Come From Away. And a year or so later, Hamilton opened here in Melbourne. And they were selling it night after night after night. And I bet you most of those people had seen it at least once, probably more, like me.
Yeah.
But still wanted to see it live, because live theatre's just different.
Exactly. It's so different. There's so many times I sit in a theatre and I just go, you just get so immersed in the experience and you kind of lose yourself. When those lights come back on, you're like, oh, back to reality, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's kind of that's the fun of being able to produce shows, that you can transport people to these other worlds, whether it's 1930s Austria with The Sound of Music, or whether it's the fantasy land of the Wizard of Oz, or if it's the many scenes over the lifespan of Peter Allen in The Boy from Oz. It's a tool, it's a device, and I sort of keep saying to people that I reckon there's no more efficient medium than musical theatre, because rather than taking an entire act to say something, just bust into song, get it done in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Chuck a tap number in there, you'd be very, very happy.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd love to go into our 1 minute theatre thoughts questions, if you're up for it. Just a bunch of different questions to do with theatre and see what comes off the top of your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's start with the first one. So, what's been your favourite production you've seen recently?
Wow, I get to see so many shows, between the shows that I produce and the shows that I promote. Look, I think I absolutely love Hamilton. I love And I know a lot of people don't, and that upsets me. But that's okay, and that's the beauty of this medium. Not everyone loves everything, and musical theatre. It's still such a diverse medium. There's so much stuff. There's Hamilton. There's Starlight Express. There's Oklahoma. There's a lot of stuff.
So much range.
But I love Hamilton. I think it's a really clever use of the medium of musical theatre. With costumes, set design, lighting, and of course music and lyrics. I think it brought a whole new, not generation, but a whole new genre of people to musical theatre that probably wouldn't have been as interested had it not been for that particular show. But in terms of just the sound and visual spectacular as a completely immersive experience, it's got to be Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Moulin Rouge.
I mean, it just, in the nicest possible way, it just absolutely assaults your senses from the moment you walk into to the auditorium. It's full on. There's red everywhere. There's moving parts everywhere, and then the show starts. And it's not a show that you go home thinking a lot about in terms of deep messaging, but my God, as a piece of entertainment, it absolutely nails it.
Yeah, I remember when I saw it up in Sydney. I remember I went to the opening night of it, and then I took my mum to go see it, and I was like, as you walk in, just look down and I'll tell you when to look up. And she was like, oh, okay, what's this? And we walked in, I was like, look down, look down, look down. And we got like halfway under like the balcony, and I went, okay, look up. And she looked up and she almost like fell over. She was like, oh my God, because you got the elephant, you got the windmill, you got burlesque dancers, you have all this stuff. And she was fascinated by it.
Yeah.
It was so
elephants, windmills, and can-can dancers. How can you go wrong?
I know, right? That's it. Let me see. Let's see. Okay. What's the most challenging experience you've had as a producer?
Oh, wow. There's never a dull moment producing musical theatre. Look, I think the most challenging experience I had was probably the opening night that almost never happened. About a year ago, we were getting ready to open The Wizard of Oz at the National Theatre in St Kilda here in Melbourne. And I've got a routine, and I sort of walk through the theatre from beginning to end on opening night just to check everything. Maybe it's a compulsion, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's good producing. I don't know. Yeah. But it's something that I do. And I don't think it's a superstition, but maybe it is. I'll reflect on that. As I was walking to the front bar, from backstage all the way through the auditorium to the front bar, I felt some squish under my feet. There was a leak. About an hour and a half before, 2 hours, about 2 hours before the doors opened for our opening night. And we had a really big guest list. We, big, opening night, media wall, red carpet, all the usual stuff. And whilst I was talking to the front of house team about how we're going to dry this, a chunk of the ceiling fell down. Turned out there was a leak in a boiler, and the venue knew, and they shut off the valves, but apparently there were more valves. It's a 100-plus-year-old building. There were more valves, and they realised that one of the valves was still going. It was just trickling water out. And we went upstairs, had a look, and it wasn't safe.
Yeah, right.
It didn't look safe. And this was the entry to the building, the entry to the auditorium, but more importantly, it was the emergency escape if something, was ever to go wrong. So we had a crisis production meeting, which are words that I've never thought you'd string together. But we did. We had a crisis production meeting, probably at this stage, an hour and 10 minutes before the doors were supposed to be open. Cast was still backstage doing all their preparation, doing all their warming up. I hadn't had a chance to say anything to the cast at this stage, and I just wanted them to focus on Showtime. And we were working through scenarios, and while we were doing that, a couple of the theatre techs were up in the roof of the auditorium, and it was bone dry. It was absolutely safe. So we were trying to work out how on earth we can keep opening night, show must go on and all that.
Yeah, of course.
So we ended up, luckily the National Theatre also has a dance school, which is underneath the auditorium. So we used the dance school for the toilets. We redeployed the bar staff as front of house staff, so there were people all over the place that could guide audiences around. We had to shut off the foyer because it was potentially quite unsafe. So instead we used the emergency exits as entry points straight into the auditorium. We had front of house and box office on a trestle table on the bottom of the stairs. We had ushers at the top of the stairs. The only piece of the puzzle that we couldn't quite work out was where do we put the all-important opening night media wall and red carpet?
Of course.
The only place that we could put it was on the apron of the stage. So the emergency exit sort of leads straight to the apron of the stage. So we had our guests on stage getting their photos, looking out over the auditorium. They absolutely loved it.
They would have had a ball with that.
It was the novelty of an opening night for one of our shows, which it wasn't. And of course, we told them what was happening, but we were able to get the show going. But my God, there was probably about 15 minutes where the show was actually closed, and we were trying to work out how we were going to deal with it and whether or not there was a chance to save it. But luckily, the show went on.
That's incredible. Wow, that's real quick thinking. My God, I'd be freaking out.
It was a team. It was a team of techs and front of house and bar staff and ushers, and we were all just throwing problems and trying to come up with solutions one at a time until we could either fix it or not fix it. And yeah, it was an absolute. It was a real testament to quick thinking, team effort, and just some great problem solving.
Incredible, well done. Oh, all right, what a story. Okay, well, I got one more question for you, and then we'll talk more. But which production would you most want to see come to Australia?
Which production would I most want to see come to Australia? Wow. I mean, there was a time where I would have said Hamilton. There was a time where I would have said Come From Away.
Yeah.
Look, I think one that we're really missing out on here is Waitress.
Okay, yeah.
Love to see Waitress tour Australia.
Yeah, I feel like that would go really well.
Look, I think so. I think so. And I mean, Dear Evan Hansen's another one, but that's on its way. MJ, I think is coming too. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, yep.
But one that's not on the horizon that I'd love to see come is absolutely Waitress.
Yeah, right. I think it's a great answer. I was speaking to someone recently, and again, I think this might be absolute bull. I don't know. But they were saying that apparently Delta Goodrem has the rights for it, and I was like, interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor too. Not the rumor I've heard, just a rumor.
Yeah.
Unsourced, don't fact check it.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be wrong. But yeah, I heard that the producers want her to do it, but she's not up for it.
Okay, right.
So they're holding out for either Delta or someone like Delta.
Yeah.
And look, the truth could be somewhere between these two rumors.
Or it could absolutely be made up.
Yeah.
I think, well, it's actually coming to cinemas. It's being streamed. They did the filming version with Sarah Bareilles, which would be amazing to go and see. It's a great. I did see it in London, in the West End, and it is the music is stunning. It is a beautifully written production for sure. Yeah. Great. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for indulging me in those theatre thoughts questions. I love getting more thoughts on a theatre anytime at all.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Well, I'd love to talk about The Boy from Oz, because you have The Boy from Oz coming in July. Why The Boy from Oz? Why this show?
Look, it's just look. There are a lot of reasons. It's a great Aussie success story. Both the story, the life of Peter Allen, but also the life of The Boy from Oz. The Boy from Oz was the first Aussie show to make it big on Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, it was part of what the rest of the world, and by the rest of the world, I really mean UK and the US. It's part of that. The rest of the world taking Australian arts and culture seriously.
Yeah.
You know, things like movies like Strictly Ballroom and Crocodile Dundee, and musicals like The Boy from Oz are our foundation as Aussies on the world stage, in my opinion. And you know, Peter Allen, the person on whom the musical is pivoted around. He was one of the early Aussies to have mainstream success overseas too. So, you know, it's an art imitating life scenario, and the show itself is super special to me, and I think to a lot of people, because, you know, it talks about you know, one of those sort of typical Aussie overnight successes that take about 25 years of nothing but hard work and determination. And you only see the end result. You know, it's like these days on Insta, no one posts their fails.
No, of course. You only see the wins.
You see all the good stuff that I do in theatre.
Yeah.
I can tell you there are rehearsals, there are tech nights that are an absolute abomination. I'm never going to post them.
No, of course not.
But they happen. They still happen, even though you're not going to see them on my feed. But yeah, it's a story. It's a story of, you know, resilience, determination, talent, passion, hardship, heartbreak, and that it's not all glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
You know, you aim for something, and it's not always what you expect it to be. And I think it's a really important story to tell. And it happens to also be at times really funny, you know, really happy. It's a celebration. It's absolutely a celebration of the life and the career of Peter Allen and of Australia.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many like Australian things in there that when you're watching it as an Aussie, you go like, oh yeah, this is really special. Like even like the Tannerfield Sadler moment as well. It's a part that not a lot of Americans and UK as well would even know about. But obviously, you know, from the humble beginnings of Boy from Oz, we had Hugh Jackman in the lead, and then Todd McKenney took it all around Australia. I think it did like over 1,000 shows, which is what helped make Todd McKenney who he is today, and also Hugh Jackman as well. I remember I saw Hugh in the production when he did it in Sydney. I was only like young kid, like in my teens, but I just have I have two vivid images. One is when he descends from the top of the stadium with the piano, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's insane. And then when he has his audience interaction in intermission, he was like at the end of my row, like a couple of seats away from us.
Oh, wow.
And interacting with this guy, getting him to dance and all that stuff. And he was absolutely incredible. But let's talk about your Peter Allen.
Matthew Hadgraft is our Peter Allen, and you know, I've had the privilege of working with Matt before, and look, he's a great talent. He is such a passionate Peter Allen fan. understates what he is. He's written a Peter Allen cabaret show.
Okay.
And Matt doesn't. He doesn't look or sound like Peter Allen.
Okay.
Because it's not. But he's not meant to. But when you see him perform, you absolutely believe that you're watching Peter Allen on stage. It's something really, really magical. His connection with the Peter Allen persona is actually mind-blowing. And, put him in the costume, put him in front of a grand piano on a big stage like the National Theatre with the set design that's already well underway. I reckon you'd have a hard time not believing you're, in venues like, the Hong Kong Hilton or Radio City Music Hall. I think it's going to be an amazing experience.
It's so exciting. That's great. I mean, like The Boy from Oz, like you said, it's audiences just love it. Like I said, it played for over 1,000 shows in Australia, plus Hugh Jackman's one as well. So I think audiences in Melbourne particularly will flock to come and see this because they love, The Boy from Oz. They love all the songs. Obviously, you got Go From Rio in there and then all the other ones that, apart from it, to make up the show. But I think it's a very good choice. And I think it'll play very well for Melbourne audiences, especially down to the national, like you said, with the big stage.
Yeah, I hope so. And of course, the unofficial Aussie anthem, I still call Australia Home.
Yeah.
There are some really iconic songs that people that don't know the show and don't know the Peter Allen story probably don't even appreciate that they were his songs.
Yeah.
There were songs in the show all the songs in the show he wrote, but there are songs in the show that he wrote for other people.
Yeah, right.
So it's a discography highlight of some of his work, not just the work that he made famous, but the work the work of his that other people made famous too. And of course, his marriage to Liza Minnelli, his chance meeting with Liza's mum, Judy Garland, from The Wizard of Oz, plugging a previous show from I don't know, a year ago or whenever we did that. And all of these stories that are sort of intermeshed and written so well. It's not quite a jukebox musical because it's all Peter Allen's music and it's a biographical treatment of his songs.
Yeah.
But it's not often that you get a jukebox-ish musical that actually has a really strong book, a really strong script.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
It as well.
Definitely.
And this is one of those that absolutely nailed both the music, which was already written. So, that was in some ways the easy bit.
Yeah, that's easy.
The book that really does justice to the music, but does justice to the life of Peter Allen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's a great choice. And like I said, audiences are going to love seeing it in July when it comes out. Well, I know we're coming to the end of our time, so I'd love to ask the question I ask every guest that comes on is I'd like to know how you think in your experience the theatre industry has changed over the years and how those changes have impacted the work that you do and the work that you create.
Yeah, I think, I think on the biggest change right now, the biggest change right now is cost of living. It's affordability. It's how much money can you justify spending on a theatre ticket when rents and mortgage payments are going up, cost of fuel's going up, cost of groceries are going up, and how important is musical theatre or entertainment and arts and culture generally in that mix and that's a big challenge for us as an industry and for me as a producer, especially when our cost of putting shows on continually increases too. So there's this constant tension between having to cover costs without shortcutting quality of the theatre experience, but also keep ticket prices at a price point where it's accessible to as many people as possible. And that's my constant struggle. I mean, it's easy to make cheap theatre, but it won't look any good or sound any good.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to do justice to the story and respect the time and the money of the audience that are coming out to see the show. So that's been a real tough one for us. That, you know, we work really hard to keep our ticket prices under $100. You know, which some of the big shows don't do because they can't do, because they're massive theatres and you know, massive touring companies with huge overheads. But we can do it, so we do it. And I think that makes our productions, I hope that it makes our productions more accessible. But of course, the other really important change in theatre is inclusion and diversity. And you know, we've got a very firm. We as a theatre company have a very firm policy around inclusion and diversity. And for us, it's about casting people that can obviously sing, dance, and act and do what the role requires.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily need to identify as the same gender or ethnicity as the one that was written into the role back whenever the role was written, because we're in Australia. We've got an incredibly diverse community, you know, just out on the street. And I think our shows, our stages need to reflect the diversity of our community. And that's a really important thing that you know, for us, it's a constant work in progress. But it's so great to see that there are so many other producers and production companies that are doing that now too, in order to give people the opportunity that haven't previously had the opportunity to either be cast in those shows or be sitting in the audience seeing someone just like them up on that stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfectly said. I couldn't have said any better myself. That was amazing. Well done. You've obviously done this before.
Once or twice. Yeah, not my first time behind a microphone.
Excellent. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for jumping on. I'm very excited to see all the works that you do. I think actually we have someone coming tonight to come and see Sound of Music, so can't wait to hear all about it. And good luck with the shows coming up, and I can't wait to chat some more later on.
Justin, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you.
A massive thank you to Andrew G for joining us as our very special guest on this week's episode. You can book tickets to The Boy From Oz running at the National Theatre in St Kilda from the 6th to the 21st of July 2024 by heading to theatrical.com.au or by following the link in this episode's description. This episode was produced by Echidna Audio. Follow them on Instagram at Echidna Audio for all their audio services. Once again, if you enjoyed our podcast, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and head to the link in this episode's description for our Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon. My name's Justin Clarke, and I'll see you next time here on the Theatre Thoughts Podcast.
Have you ever wondered how your favorite performer actually feels? Well, here's your chance. Welcome to The Quiet Part Out Loud with me, Bobby Steggert, Broadway actor and now a therapist to a whole host of Broadway creatives. Part interview, part therapy, this is not your typical podcast. We'll go right to the heart of things with some of your favorite artists, what they still struggle with, what lessons they've learned, what they haven't figured out yet. There's enormous power in saying the quiet part out loud. Are you listening?
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.